As we record this, Justin Verlander is slated to return Wednesday. Despite optimism that Alex Bregman could return for Boston, the Boston series, that's now in question. Kyle Tucker, we have no ETA. It's been a long, slow process because he can't afford any setbacks given how close to the end of the season this team is. So what's your confidence level on these guys returning and making meaningful contributions to this team?
Well, we're talking about the Astros and injuries, so it's always buyer beware, or listener beware, viewer beware, consumer beware. In Bregman's case, as long as it's not, it turns out he needs Tommy John surgery. Yes, non-pitchers sometimes have Tommy John surgery. If it's just he slept funny and darn it all, that's that. I hope that there's some sort of baseball biological clock for Alex Bregman that hit a pause button, because after a first week of August, he was smoking hot. The second week of August, right? August Breggy. Well, now he's probably missing, all told, a week of August. Can that go on account? Can that be redeemed in September? Because the Astros could use August Breggy in September. And as we talked about last week, Bregman, year in, year out in August has been amazing. Year in, year out, he's then immediately flattened out in September. But Bregman, if it's just a minor injury, he's going to come back and be a solid major leaguer. By accident, he'll be better than what Dubon can give you at third base, presumably what Shea Whitcomb would give you at third base. Verlander is an interesting one. You know, he has the credit of being Justin Verlander, first ballot Hall of Famer, a couple of different legendary stints with the Astros. The brief one, when acquired in 2017, a 106 ERA and 6 starts. They go on to win the World Series. Then a couple of Cy Young awards. Not amazing upon rejoining the team down the stretch in 22, but not rejoining the team, but down the stretch in 2022, but got over the World Series hump, rejoining the team last season. Not amazing, but a contributor. But this is 41-year-old Justin Verlander with an accumulation of injuries. He was a little bit better than average earlier this season after an injury delayed the start of his season. Then he was 3.95 ERA before he went down again. What Verlander's going to come back? If you can get 5 innings, 2 earned runs out of him, I think you'd be delighted. That's a 3.60 ERA per start. But tilt the prism. Consider this angle. It's a max of 7 starts for Verlander, who's joining in this stretch of 18 games in 18 days. Then they do have some off days mixed in before another stretch of 16 games in 16 days. But if Verlander's making 7 starts, you know what? He better be pretty good, because it's a zero-sum game. Those 7 starts are coming from someone. One of them is coming from Framber Valdez, who's been spectacular for 2 months now. Another one is coming from Hunter Brown, who's been spectacular for more than 2 months. Yusei Kikuchi, 3 for 3 in good starts going into the Boston game on Monday night. You don't have any qualms about taking a start away from Arrighetti, who had a nice little surge, but he's still a young guy and on balance has not been a good major league starting pitcher this season. So, Verlander coming in is not just an automatic big upgrade to the Astros rotation when you look at where those starts are being pulled from when you go to a 6-man turn over this near 3-week stretch. And if that's going to be the plan when they go to the 16 games in 16 days in mid to late September.
Verlander, the age sure is a concern, but I'm not worried about him as much just because there's not a whole lot of season left. And if he wasn't feeling great, I don't think he'd be pushing to come back this soon. He knows what's really important. The Astros are about winning championships. So I think Verlander will be okay. Tucker's the one where I'm just terrified. I mean, my expectations now, I'm like, is he going to be available? Should the Astros make the postseason like we think they will? Will he get a week or two right at the end there where he's playing a little bit in the regular season and then he's ready to go in the postseason? We're getting into late August and he's not even, I don't know if you guys saw that video of him in the outfield that Brian McTaggart took the other day. Doesn't look great. So I'm sure he's gotten better since then, but he's not moving around very well. So I'm really starting to wonder, should we just hope that he's ready to go when the postseason arrives? I think that's where we're getting here. There's just not that much time left in the season.
Quick follow on the rotation. Ronel Blanco's the other guy that Verlander would be siphoning a start from in joining. Yeah, and Kyle Tucker, You guys have any Grey Poupon? Let me throw in a highbrow reference here. Kyle Tucker's new nickname should be Godot, as in waiting for Godot, a guy who ultimately never showed up. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern sat around waiting forever, I think. Treat Kyle Tucker as found money. I mean, he would be an essential component to this offense, but we're now over 2.5 months. And as Josh alluded to, he's not exactly looking frisky yet. He's going to go out for a rehab stint, certainly. Would that be 2-3 days, or would they want a week's worth of at-bats and playing a game, sitting out a game, DHing a game, trying it in the outfield for a day, then a day off? But the output has been so puny and impotent. If you could get Kyle Tucker back on a platoon basis every other day, and he bats 250, mixing in a normal Kyle Tucker ration of walks with occasional power, that's a boost. That's a B12 shot to the Astros lineup. But you're worrying is the needle with the B12 actually going to get to the patient?
Searching for Bobby Fischer is about as highbrow as my references go, Charlie. Another guy down right now is Ryan Presley. We saw his velo dip in his previous appearance, and then he gets put on the IL with a back strain. We'll see how that plays out. But look, Brian Abreu has played a ton of innings, I should say. Taylor Scott has pitched well over his head this entire season. Whether it's just him finding something or it being a testament to the brain trust and that internal coaching staff with the Astros. Look, how do you see Espada navigating the back end of this bullpen in Presley's absence? And what's your concern level for the back end of the bullpen should he miss extended time?
Yeah, this speaks to why the Astros don't have this on lockdown or anything close to it. Though a 4-game lead's a fairly comfortable margin getting to August 20th on the calendar, but it also still means there's a month plus remaining. Abreu's workload's such a 2024 thing. It's not like he's on pace to throw 95 innings. He's on a pace to appear in about 80 games. Well, the league leader gets there about every year. So if this year it happens to be 27-year-old Brian Abreu, so be it. Just be mindful the rest of the way. I know it was a 1-0 game, but if you're scared over Brian Abreu wearing out down the stretch, maybe against the inept White Sox, you didn't need to go to him in the 8th inning. But because you were down Presley, Caleb Ort's been a find. There are certain games where you're going to have to navigate through them without Abreu. Hader continues his save streak, but as we've hit upon before, he's not having a great year, but he has been much more consistent and solid lately. Hader's on pace for his most innings pitched, going back to the season he threw 75 in 2019. So, okay, if the workload wears these guys down and out, it could take the Astros down with it if the offense is going to remain subpar. And the schedule thing, let me highlight on this. At the start of the Red Sox series, the Astros with 39 games to play. There are 11 teams first of the week that will categorize as good, at least good enough to be more than 10 games over 500. The Astros joining the club by taking 2 out of 3 over the White Sox to get to 11 games over 500. The Red Sox are not one of those teams. So end of the Boston series, the Astros have 36 games remaining, 20 of those 36 against good teams, to really good teams, to the best in baseball teams. Orioles, Phillies, Padres, Guardians, Diamondbacks. 20 of the remaining 36 games when they head to Baltimore. The Mariners only have 11 games left against the A cast of teams, and 3 of those are in Houston. And if the Mariners don't take the series at Minute Maid Park, they're probably not going to win the division anyway. So outside of that Astros series, the Mariners only have 8 games left against the upper cast of teams. The Astros have 20. That's a significant imbalance this late in the schedule. So the Astros definitely have work to do.
Yeah. With Abreu, Chandler Rome pointed out in his column this week that he's on pace to pitch in more than half of the Astros games. He's already at 63 appearances this year. And I just noticed in the White Sox finale, he got out of the inning pretty quick. But if I remember right, I think there were 2 rockets almost to the wall in center field. And I noticed his velo was right around 95 miles an hour. Sometimes we see Abreu touching 98, 99. So it made me wonder, and that was against the White Sox. Was he just like, it's the White Sox, we'll see if they can hit my average fastball and we'll get out of here? Or is he showing a little bit of fatigue, the velo down a little bit, giving up some hard contact? It's just one outing, but just something I noticed. With Presley out of there, Abreu's a very important piece. I mean, he already was, but now he really is. So, yeah, they'll have to be careful with them. But to Charlie's point, they're going to have to use them to get where they want to get. So, Joe Espada, you're going to earn your money here.
And this is where a team sport, right? The gears need to mesh to operate on all cylinders. The Astros have been a little bit better recently in one-run games, but overall the record in one-run games stinks. Their record in two-run games is below 500. Not that a 3-run win is a blowout, but 3 or more, their record is sensational this season. Well, with the current lineup, the Astros are going to have a hard time blowing people out, certainly when they're against good teams more capable of putting runs on the board against you. Byproduct of that, if you're in fewer games where you're ahead 6-1 in the 7th inning or 7-2 in the 6th inning, closer games with a lead, the spot is always, get Abreu up, 7th, 8th inning. It's a 5-2 game. Abreu's always in the 7th inning when Presley's there, and then Presley's in the 8th. You can't do that day in, day out. And now that they're down Presley, you're going to have to use Scott. You're going to have to use Ort. You don't have to use Caleb Ferguson. But Brian King, right? Those guys are going to have to get some more significant outs than they've been asked to get at this point in the season, or maybe just out of nowhere, because sometimes you know what happens. The Astros lineup becomes more consistently productive again, and they get some easier wins where you're not asking your best relievers to shut the game down night in, night out.
And as good as Houston has been, they still need to get lucky, frankly, in health, and then hope that iron strengthens iron as the competition of the schedule ramps up. We'll leave it there. That's it for this episode of Stone Cold Stros. If you listen on podcast on places like Apple or Spotify and you enjoy the show, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating. Charlie, Josh, and I will catch you next week. But you know what I'm going to say. You don't have to wait that long to get your Houston sports fix. All you have to do is subscribe to Sports Map Houston and Sports Map Texans on YouTube. We'll have more content during the week, including a live Texans post-game reaction following Rams Texans this Saturday. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go Stros.